Hello students, welcome to Laex. Welcome to the 58th weekly magazine where we'll be covering from 2nd April to 8th April 2018. So as the exam is nearing by, these monthly or weekly magazines at this time, March, April and all will be important. So try to go through them carefully once. Fine guys, so let's quickly get into what are the important areas in this particular week. So the first important issue is actually about the Konark Sun Temple. Indian Oil Foundation is actually developing an interpretation center or tourist facilitation center. For us, what is more important is this. One, they may ask you, Indian Oil Foundation recently developed an interpretation center and tourist facilitation of which temple? So you should be aware of that. Second, you should be aware that it was built in 13th century, was considered as gigantic chariot of the sun god with 12 pairs of exquisitely ornamented wheels pulled by 7 horses. Very, very important. Who built it? King Narasimhadeva of Ganga dynasty. Some other facts that we need to know is the temple is actually included in the UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1984 for its architectural greatness. The temple is perfect blend of Kalinga architecture. It is protected under the national framework, right, of India. The Konark is the third link of Odisha's golden triangle. Odisha has its own golden triangle. Within that, the first is Jagannath Puri, second is Bhuvaneshwar, third is Konark. And it is also known as Black Pagoda, right, due to its dark color. Whereas Jagannath temple is known as White Pagoda, and it remains a major pilgrimage site for Hindus who gather every year for the Chandrabhaga Mela. Very, very important guys. So please try to read these factual information. Remember, as the exam is coming near, any factual data of this sort will be important. The next important issue that we need to see is actually with respect to Northeast India, right, especially northeastern states, has almost 6 monuments or historical sites which have been identified for the World Heritage Site status. Now, which are these 6? Apatani culture landscape in Arunachal Pradesh, iconic sari weaving clusters of India, right? Moyodams, the mound burial system of the Ahom dynasty of Assam, Namdappa National Park, Arunachal Pradesh, river island of Majuli. At least you would have seen so many times this year about Majuli Island. Anything can be asked about Majuli Island, so please be prepared. Next, Tembang fortified village, Arunachal Pradesh. You might see most of it is associated with Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. Guys, please try to remember this. They may give you, right, consider Apatani cultural landscape, right, Namdappa National Park, Tembak fortified village. They are present in which state? If they ask you, it is in Arunachal Pradesh. Next, when you look, what is the use of these? The list is maintained by the UNESCO World Heritage Committee, and each World Heritage Site remains part of the legal territory of this particular thing. It is part of the state itself, but they have certain guidance to ensure that these sites are preserved. So if you take Taj Mahal and all, what they usually say is you cannot do some alterations around which will affect the beauty, and you should ensure that conservation measures are taken. Sometimes when the governments are not in a position to conserve them, then UNESCO will give some standard measures and techniques that can be adopted to ensure that the sites are protected well. As of July 2017, 1073 sites are listed. So we just need to know that Italy is the home for largest number of sites in the world. Fine guys, if you see this, that is enough. The next important issue and the most important one from prelims this year can be about Velong tri-junction. As you're all aware, Doklam is the disputed territory between Bhutan and China, and issue is there between India and China as well. Similarly, there is a tri-junction between China, India and Myanmar, and that is known as Wellong, right? So it is the easternmost city or town in Arunachal Pradesh near the Tibetan region. Now Indian forces are guarding this region carefully because there is a possibility that Doklam type of repetition can occur in this region as well. And remember guys, you have Tawang, on the other side you have Bhutan, India and China or Tibet. So you have to know these tri-junctions. Once in a while these issues come into news, and at that time you shouldn't waste time at all, and you need to map or locate that exactly, whether it is from optional point of view or whether it is from GS point of view. High possibility you may get a question on this. So guys, please ensure that you are going through this carefully. The next issue, not so important from prelims but important from mains. Today there is a debate going on in the country where some articles had written that is it time for subnationalism, because the central government is actually not supporting the states which are performing well, but at the cost of this they are actually supporting the North Indian states which are not developed much. Recently you might have heard that eastern states are not very well developed and they have put India behind, especially in terms of Human Development Index and others. But here I want you to know a simple concept, that is, all this is under social issues where you have to read about the nationalism, and within the nationalism concept you should try to understand that yes, when you have some states which are growing fast and when you have some other states which are back, as a nation we all have to come together and ensure that we achieve egalitarian society, and that is the main goal. It's unfortunate that the communist parties and others who actually talk about the egalitarian states today talk about subnationalism and giving more power to the states to get out of this country, rather than thinking that when they are rich in one part and if some money can be shared with the other poorer states. Yes, I understand that the poorer states should improve the governance. There can be some governance linked projects where we can say that if you achieve this we will give this much money. So there can be target based schemes, but saying that as you are giving more money they are growing at our cost, we should be selfish and we should go out, that is not fair. And when we talk about the Karnataka issue which is given in the magazine, you should be aware that it is election time, and during election some leaders try to divide not only state but also people on the basis of religion or caste, which is happening in Karnataka. So when we look at these type of things, that shouldn't be given priority, and debate on these type of issues and supporting them will not give you marks as well. I hope you understand that as a government it is responsibility to ensure that almost regional imbalances are removed completely and growth is achieved everywhere. The next important issue that we need to focus is about the rankings of university given by National Institutional Ranking Framework. It was introduced in 2016 and this is the third edition of this. In this, IISc, JNU, BHU are some of the big institutions whose names have been given. And what does it look at? It tries to see whether teaching, learning and resources, research and professional practices, outreach and inclusivity, and also perception, right? So when we just look at this, what is the significance of this? They usually get autonomous, complete autonomy, and administrative and academic autonomy will be obtained to these universities, whichever is selected. And the government will actually run 10 of these and they will receive special funding during this particular time. Is that fine? So it's very, very important for you to know that NIRF usually gives institution of eminence. So they may ask you a question, who will go for institution of eminence scheme, or when rankings are given by whom? It is National Institutional Ranking Framework. And the parameters are teaching, learning and resources, research, professional practice and collaborative performance, graduation outcome, outreach and inclusivity. So this can be asked. So while giving the rankings, which parameters are used can be another question. Supreme Court has actually said that one candidate should be allotted only one seat. The main reason for this is, even though if a candidate wins in both the seats, then bypoll is mandatory. So to avoid such confusions, the Supreme Court has said that you should give only one seat to one candidate. Now this has become important at a time when Siddaramaiah, the Chief Minister of Karnataka, is planning to contest from 2 seats. Prime Minister Modi also contested. So this has to be avoided is what the Supreme Court is actually telling. So nothing much to remember. The next issue is actually about Human Rights Amendment Bill 2018. And here we have given the salient features of the bill. But as it is a bill, I would recommend you to read this after prelims, because by that time if it becomes an act, then it would be easy. So as of now, let us leave this and focus mostly about the next important issue, that is government schemes. The next most important issue is the Poshan Abhiyan. This was launched on International Women's Day, that is March 8th. Fine. So what is the Abhiyan? The Abhiyan targets to reduce stunting, undernutrition, anemia, right? These 3 are planned to be reduced. Second important thing, among young children, women, adolescent girls, and reduce low birth weight by how much? Stunting by 2%, undernutrition 2%, anemia 3%, and low birth weight by 2%. And what are the targets? Prevent and reduce stunting in children by 6% at 2% per annum, right? Now prevent and reduce undernutrition, as I told you, the same thing is given. So Poshan Abhiyan is aimed at stunting, undernutrition, anemia and low birth weight. Very, very important. The next issue is Pradhan Mantri Matritva Vandana Yojana, right? Is a maternity benefit from erstwhile Indira Gandhi Matritva Sahyog Yojana. They have renamed it as Matritva Vandana Yojana. So what is it? It is a conditional cash transfer scheme for a pregnant and lactating woman who are above 19 years of age for first 2 live births, because it shouldn't be for more number of children. The maternity benefits under Pradhan Mantri Matru Vandana Yojana are available to all pregnant women and lactating mother. So this is important, you should know, because they may give you, it is available only for lower income groups and all, except those in regular employment with the central government or state government or public sector undertaking, or those who are in receipt of similar benefits under any law for the time being in force. The meaning of this is, if you are part of central government, state government or any other permanent job, then you may be not getting this. Now when you look at this scheme, it is a centrally sponsored scheme, fine, under which cost sharing ratio between the center and states and union territories is 60:40. For northeastern states and Himalayan states it will be 90:10, and for union territories 100% by the central government itself. The next scheme is about the Swadhar Grah scheme. Okay, it was launched in 2002 for rehabilitation of women in difficult circumstances. The scheme provides shelter, food, clothing and care to the marginalized women who are in need, fine, and they usually get direct benefit transfer, right? The beneficiaries includes widows deserted by their families and relatives, women prisoners released from jail and without family support, women survivors of natural disasters, women victims of terrorist or extremist violence, etc. These are the people who have to be given certain facilities. Swadhar scheme, right? It is Swadhar scheme. You call it Swadhar Grah scheme. Next important issue is Mahila Shakti Kendra scheme, right? So here, through community participation, empowerment of rural women is actually planned, and that is what we call as Mahila Shakti Kendra. Is this fine? Mahila Shakti Kendra. What is the meaning? Here the main aim is to ensure that empower rural women through community participation, and the center where this actually happens is Mahila Shakti Kendra. Here it is one-stop convergence support service for empowering rural women with opportunities for skill development, employment, digital literacy, health and nutrition. It will aim to improve declining child sex ratio, ensure survival and protection of the girl child, ensuring her education and empowering her to fulfill her potential. So all these will be taken care. It will provide an interface for rural women to approach the government for getting their entitlements. It is a place where they can ask for their own benefits. Then when you look at Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao and many other things, all this will be taken care from this particular centers. The next scheme that is important or program is Dhan Vikas Kendra. Ministry of Tribal Affairs is planning to launch. It's not at plan, is planning to launch. These things become important. Say for example, if this is launched in May, then if you are not preparing now, by that time if you stop reading newspaper, UPSC may give you a question from this as well. So just be careful. It is planning to launch its first Dhan Vikas Kendra at Bijapur, Chhattisgarh. What is the use of it? It is used for value addition of forest produce. Fine. So here this first model is being implemented for training 300 beneficiaries, where the main aim is to provide them equipments and tools for primary level processing and infrastructure and building for housing the Kendras. Very, very important for you. It provides skill upgradation and capacity building, training and setting up of primary processing and value addition. Processing of the minor forest produce is the major ambition of this particular thing. Fine. This is what we have to read and understand. Now when you look at this, the importance of MFPs for this section of society can be gauged from the fact that around 100 million forest dwellers depend on MFPs for food, shelter, medicines and cash income. Right? So guys, minor forest produce is very, very crucial and critical for the survival of the tribal communities, and if that can be processed fairly, then there is high possibility we are all in a position to ensure that the doubling of income is there for the tribal communities as well. The next two articles which are given in the book is about the budget session being disrupted. So here the major argument is what are the problems, how much money is being lost. So here you should know that whenever discussions doesn't happen, especially on budget and all, legislature is not controlling the executive. You should be aware of this particular fact. When legislature is not controlling the executive, then executive can do whatever they want. Each system has to do its duty, and that is not done properly due to several reasons. Opposition blames that it is the duty of the government to ensure House is running in session, whereas government says that opposition is not cooperating. Beyond a point we can't do anything. These type of disruptions are very, very damaging for a democracy. This is what you need to understand. Delhi is the first city to roll out Euro 6 fuel. So what is the difference between the new one? When we look at BS4 and BS6, the amount of sulfur content will be reduced. The newly introduced fuel is estimated to reduce the amount of sulfur by almost 80%, from 50 parts per million to 10 parts per million. As per the analyst, the emission of nitrogen oxides from diesel cars is expected to reduce. You are all aware that pollution is one of the major problems in Delhi, and that has actually led to several problems during winter and all. Even during summer, pollution is a problem because of the emissions of sulfur, nitrogen and many other components. This has to be prevented. You shouldn't wait that okay, only when gas chamber occurs, then only problems will be there. Normal air pollution should also be reduced. For this is the best measure taken by the government. Over a period of time, it is believed that we are going to have best fuels which will not emit much of these elements at all. The next most important issue from internal security point of view is about the cyber security threat. Recently, a report has clearly said that India is third most vulnerable country in terms of cyber security threats. And if you look at crypto mining activities, India has ranked second in the Asia Pacific and Japan region. And when you look at the spam bots and others, India is second most impacted by this, third most impacted by network attacks, and fourth most impacted by ransomware. So this is what you all have to understand. See guys, this is very, very important for you. Especially from mains point of view, when you are writing, you try to see. You're all aware about WannaCry, NotPetya and many other problems which India had to face. Even digital currency, digital security, like Digital India, all these programs will be affected if cyber security is not provided properly. So enough measures has to be taken to ensure that cyber security is provided in this country. There is a hormone by name oxytocin, and when you look at this, the main goal of this is to ensure that reproduction, childbirth, lactation and others are very good. Oxytocin is used in both animals and humans to accelerate normal labor, and also it will help in lactation in animals. Now, what is happening in dairying and other industries? This is being misused, where this has led to reduction in the life of the livestock. So several people are fighting against this, and the government has put a ban on this. Question can be, it is secreted by what? Pituitary glands is one, and the other important facts are where it can be used. It is used for reproduction, child labor, childbirth, right? It is used both for humans and animals to accelerate normal labor so that the pain is reduced, and also to ensure that milk is produced more. The next most important issue, high possibility you may get a question on this, is Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. You're aware that in Russia there was use of this, in Syria there was use of this, and this organization got Nobel Peace Prize mainly when they helped in eliminating the chemical weapons which are actually present in Syria. Now when we are actually looking at OPCW, you should know some facts with respect to prelims. It is an independent, autonomous international organization with a working relationship with the United Nations. Very, very important. The Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons is the implementing body of Chemical Weapons Convention, which entered into force in 1997. Fine. So these two facts can be asked. As of today, there are 192 member states who are working to achieve this. This organization was awarded Nobel Peace Prize in 2013 for its efforts to eliminate chemical weapons. Very, very important. The next important area from where question you may expect is about the forest fire. You know that recently there was a tragedy in Theni in Tamil Nadu, where there was forest fire and 20 trekkers lost their lives. You should be aware here that whenever summer comes as there won't be rainfall for a significant period, the leaves become dry and they fall down because plants has to avoid transpiration, and even the trees will become dry. And whenever winds blow, hot winds when they blow, then there is a possibility that these trees rub against each other, and this would lead to forest fires. And whenever forest fires are there, you know that biodiversity of the forest will be affected. So this you need to understand in detail, right? So which are the major regions in India which will be affected? One important thing is the Garhwal Himalayas, where this incident is huge, because especially during summers, extreme temperatures are seen in this region. Along with this, forests with chirpine, wherever they are present, they are also prone to forest fire. 291 forest fires have occurred in Uttarakhand, 2422 in Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Madhya Pradesh, right? Very, very important for us to ensure that this is prevented. Usually what they do, they try to have some areas in between, like they try to cut the trees in between and others, so that usually whenever forest fires occur in one part, it's unpreventable because it's nature. So whenever it occurs, so it shouldn't spread from one region to another region, so gap will be there in between. So these are some of the measures that they take to ensure that forest fires are prevented, and tribal communities and others will be given where they should move whenever forest fires usually happen, and wherever water bodies and all are there, the path towards that will be made clear, so that animals and all can actually move towards this. If you can't prevent forest fires, at least protect the animals and all is the second important measure that we need to do. Fine guys, so this is very, very important for us. After seeing all this, my suggestion is please read these magazines carefully, at least this month's magazine, so that it will be easy for you to get few questions in the exam. I hope you people are preparing well. You have a proper strategy in last few days. Ensure that you're working hard. Thank you guys. Thanks for watching.